Hi, I'm Charles Addison, Director of Made in the Midlands, and welcome to MIM TV, the official channel for Made in the Midlands. In our next series on meeting Britain's manufacturers, we've got Liam Conway in from Control Energy Costs. Liam, welcome.
Thanks, Charles. Good to see you.
Control Energy Costs are patrons of Made in the Midlands and have been working with our members now for a few months. So, Liam, tell us about Control Energy.
So, Control Energy Costs have been in operation for 35 years. We work with around about 900 clients across the UK. Broadly speaking, about half of those in the manufacturing sector. We employ 27 people. Half of those are analysts who do the real technical, clever work around helping businesses understand their energy usage and reducing costs.
Fantastic. Now, we've had a few meetings with some of our members so far, and it's been quite apparent that the sort of level of understanding and lack of knowledge of the energy liability is quite prominent. So,
yeah.
How does the firm add value? How does it work?
So we're completely different to the majority of the market. If we talk about the industrial and commercial market, where the vast majority of Made in the Midlands members are in, it's operated by energy brokers, and energy brokers are solely concerned with putting supply contracts in place for businesses and earning what can be quite a considerable commission from that. What we do as technical analysts is we look at how we can reduce costs for people by not just looking at supply contracts. We help them understand the difference between commodity costs and non-commodity costs. The first thing that we do for businesses, we look at a no obligation, no cost audit analysis, and we've done that really successfully for quite a few members. And what we're looking for there is we're looking for opportunities to secure historic refunds and rebates for people, which is always a nice conversation to have. And we also look at reducing their costs sooner rather than later. What a lot of people get caught up by is, they could be in a supply contract for 2 years, but they don't understand that they can actually reduce the non-commodity elements of that immediately. And it's about proving value and proving our value over and above what they've done historically and what they're doing currently.
Okay. So who tends to be the typical high users for energy in the manufacturing space?
Yeah, it's a good question. I suppose it really depends on the size of the operation, but typically it's people who are manufacturing metal, plastics, whether they be injection moulders, casting foundry companies, people who are whacking metal, forming metal. They tend to be energy intensive users. I would probably say that our typical client spend is probably between £50,000 a year and £1 million a year, and that might seem quite a large and broad spectrum really, but they're the type of end user who aren't really big enough to employ somebody internally to manage it, and they're also in the sector where energy brokers target them most because they can probably earn the most out of those types of businesses.
Well, you see a lot about the wholesale change of oil and electricity in terms of cost, but that doesn't seem to be impacting the bills much. Why is that?
No, I get asked that quite a lot. So people have seen in the last certainly the last 6 to 12 months talking to me about oil costs and say, oil's plummeted. Why haven't my energy costs come down by the same rate? And what people really need to understand is that whilst the wholesale cost of energy is pretty flat broadly, all of the non-commodity elements, so that's around the distribution, transmission, tax, levies, all that kind of stuff, that's actually going up at a faster rate. So if we look at an energy bill, roughly half of the costs are commodity and half of the costs are non-commodity. Now, most manufacturers, broadly speaking, have no idea what non-commodity costs are, and that's where we can add value to educate them from a knowledge piece and also look for opportunities for refunds, rebates and ongoing savings.
How has the interaction worked with Made in the Midlands members so far then?
Yeah, really good. It couldn't have really gone any better, to be honest. I've met 38 members so far. 36 of those are now clients, with the other 2 hopefully coming on board in the next week or so. Over the next fortnight I've got meetings with another 5. That being said, we don't I think the main reason that people engage with us is that we've been prominent at networking events. People have had the opportunity to speak to me about general stuff rather than me picking up the phone and trying to badge them about energy that they have on a daily basis. But also what happens now is we've got quite a bit of traction in it, and what I mean by that is that I can go and speak to a company who are, let's say they're a plastic injection moulder. I can talk about 3 or 4 other plastic injection moulders who are Made in the Midlands members and give them examples where we've added value and secured them refunds, rebates and ongoing savings, so it carries a lot of weight in that respect.
I mean, from our point of view, we've seen the interaction working sort of in a similar vein to how well the R&D tax scheme has worked in terms of putting much appreciated and needed funds back into the pockets of our members. So very much an important process. And in terms of the sort of principle of people doing business with people and the value of relationships, how would you say the role of a patron has assisted with that?
Everything that we do is really about relationships, and I mentioned in the last question that these businesses are badgered on a daily basis to talk about energy. They're constantly told that we're the best company, we can save you money, but the value of us being able to sit with people and essentially help. We've done 3 round tables, which is really about us sitting down for an hour and a half and talking to MDs and FDs about the value of what we do in a bit more of an informal and relaxed environment. But the relationships are everything that we focus on, really.
I mean, we've seen the feedback for those as being powerful because of the behavioural learning experiences that the directors are able to share between them, which has been really positive as well. Going forward, I think as the Made in Midlands network grows across the East and West Midlands, we're going to see an important focus and entering into a post-Brexit economy of the importance of making things more so. What are your ambitions? You said that 50% of your current business portfolio is from the sector. You're likely to see that to grow?
I would imagine so. We don't, for obvious reasons, we don't want to get bogged down by just one sector, but the manufacturing sector for us is the key sector. Made in the Midlands have got 330 odd members. There's no reason in my mind why the good majority of those we can't have conversations with and help. So we see manufacturing as a really key sector for us. But also what you said about from the R&D principle about putting money back into businesses. Some of the people that we work with, the refunds and ongoing savings that we're putting back into the businesses are well into the tens of thousands of pounds. So what does that equate to in terms of ability to develop internally, employ more people? And one of the key things I say to people, is how much product have you got to get out the door to generate £10,000-20,000 worth of profit? It's a lot.
Liam, in what is quite a congested marketplace in the energy market, how do you guys differ from a broker?
Yeah, I'm really glad you've asked that, actually, because it is a very, very congested marketplace, and the key difference is that we look at all of the costing elements. Typically, an energy broker will only look at putting a supply contract and earning a commission from a supplier. But also, once people understand how an energy broker earns, and they start to think, well, actually, are they doing what I'm paying them to do? And one of the key things I always ask people is, how have you paid an energy broker for putting a supply contract in place? And secondly, how much have you paid them? And you'd be very surprised how often people have no idea how an energy broker earns, and therefore they have no idea what they've paid them for putting that supply contract in place.
So where does your revenue stream fit in difference to that? So
we work on a share of savings basis. So at the start, you remember I spoke about the fact that we do a no-cost audit and analysis for people. If we find an opportunity for a refund, rebate or ongoing savings, which we implement for a client, we take a share of that savings. So very simply, if we don't find any opportunities, then nothing ventured, nothing gained from that aspect. But typically people use an energy broker who they've more often than not used for quite some time. And when it comes to pricing, we work to a benchmark. So essentially, the company comes to us and says, well, these are the best terms that we've been able to achieve without your involvement, typically via a broker. Anything that we can do under that, then we share in the retrospective difference between what they would have been paying via that contract and what they have actually paid without involvement. And people are staggered by the amount of commission that is potentially built into energy supply contracts. particularly on the gas market, because what we've seen is the wholesale market for gas has dropped significantly, and I've seen quite a few gas intensive users where they've not actually been anywhere near best prices because the energy broker has earned a tremendous amount of commission built into that, and ultimately the end user, i.e. the manufacturer, is paying that commission. People don't understand that, or it's not a transparent market.
We find that their members can be very habitual. So if a firm has been seeking or working with a preferred supplier for a while, how long can this have continued, and how far back can control energy costs go back?
Yeah, so there's something called a statute of limitation, which means you can go back as far as 6 years in terms of looking for retrospective refunds and rebates, so you can go back quite a long way. We initially look at the previous 12 months because that gives us a good idea of what's been going on historically. But you are right, people tend to stick with a broker who they've worked with for some time, and actually sometimes it's interesting because they place quite a lot of trust in these brokers. If we take an example of a client who's spending £250,000 a year on energy, that's an awful lot of spend, and they're placing an awful lot of trust in somebody who is incentivised really to drive their costs up rather than drive their costs down. And we really just want to give a transparent view for Made in the Midlands members about how they can actually reduce costs.
So if I've understood it, there's a sort of two-part. One is the retrospective correction of what has been paid or done, and
Yep.
the second part is getting the manufacturing company on the right course with the right package going forward.
Correct, you got it.
Fantastic. I now speak for all of us at Made in the Midlands when we thank you for your continued support and all the help you're giving our members. So Liam, thank you very much for your time.
You too.
If you'd like to be on the Made in the Midlands channel in the future, simply contact my colleagues here. We'll be happy to help and continue our theme on meeting Britain's makers.